Hi there, I'm Monica. If you have found me from TikTok, I am Sweet Nothings Creations. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook at Sweet Nothings Creations as well. And I started off with TikTok, just kind of posting some fun videos, making crafts, things like that for myself. And when I started posting some sewing videos, I was asked for some tutorials, which I've posted a couple of mask tutorials here so far. I was also asked to show a couple other items, which I'll be working on some quick videos for those as well. What I haven't posted there yet was a tote, a fabric cotton tote. And since I was asked to make one as an order, I thought it's a good time to go ahead and film it and show you how I do this. It's a really simple tote. It's with the outer fabric, it has a liner, it has cotton webbing straps, and then it uses some interfacing, and I'll show you all of that here shortly. So the outer fabric that I picked, or that was requested, is this really super cute Disney. It's like all the movie jackets, or maybe the movie posters of many different Disney videos, Disney shows. And then the inside will be a really nice purple lining. I will also be using some interfacing that I'll be ironing onto one of the layers. That way it gives it a little bit more sturdy feel. The handles, or the straps, will be using some cotton webbing. I just learned that's what it's called. Some cotton webbing in black. And I just found this at Hobby Lobby in the section with the ribbons and decorative trims and things like that. It's not expensive, it's nice and sturdy, and I love using this. And then the interfacing, I buy this. I bought many yards of it just so I have it on hand. And then other than that, just sewing machine. I'm not sure if I'll use the serger on this. Scissors, thread, you know, the normal other necessities for sewing. So I will do a run through of how I do this tote, and let me know if you like it and if there's anything else that you'd like to see. Thank you. Here we go. So I started by cutting out my outer fabric. This fabric is directional. If you have a non-directional fabric, you can cut it 18 inches wide by 36 inches tall. Because this fabric has a pattern that's directional, I cut 2 pieces of fabric 18 inches by 18 inches. I faced them, and then I sewed the bottom edges. I then steamed flat the seams so that it'll lay nicely. Once I did that, on the short edges, I folded it over 1 inch and then another inch and steamed them flat. I did this on both sides. Once that was done, I cut the interfacing to match the 18 inches by 36 inches. Once I had that all trimmed down, I just ironed it all down so that the inner side that's sticky will adhere to the fabric. This will help the tote be a little bit more sturdy. This isn't a necessary step, but it is helpful and it makes a nicer tote. When that was done, I just trimmed off the excess on the sides, and then I laid in my lining. It's a really super simple step. I cut this lining 18 inches by 36 inches. It was a little bit longer, and I just trimmed it down to match the size of the tote outer fabric. When that was done, I cut the cotton webbing about 18 inches for each strap. I measured in 4 inches, and then I just set in one end. I folded it over and clipped it down. I then stitched the seam on the lower edge of that folded hem about 3/8 of an inch. I flipped it over and then did a top stitch. I did this on both sides. I then matched up all the edges so that it fit nicely. I trimmed off any of the excess interfacing and any of the edges that didn't quite line up right. I pinned them, and then I did a 1/4 inch seam down each side. I then went down the edges and I trimmed it down just a little bit, because when you do the French seam you don't want any edges to poke out. So I just trimmed it down just close to the seam, but still leaving enough so that it won't pop apart. I turned it inside out and I just steamed down the edges so it had a nice crisp edge so that I can sew the next seam. And this seam I went in another 1/4 inch, and this is what creates the French seam. You won't have any raw edges. When that's done, turn it inside out. If you like a flat tote, you're done. You can leave it as is. I like a boxed bottom, so on the corners, and I didn't realize that I went off camera here, on the corners I just match up the side seam to the bottom seam to create a little corner. I measured up 2 inches on each side, and then I marked it. And then I just drew the line across from corner to corner. And this is where you're going to sew along your line. I'm just holding the corner flat so it's not folded over on any edges. And then just sew right along your line. When that's done, you're going to clip off that corner piece of fabric close to your seam, about 3/8 of an inch. Be sure that you don't cut through your seam. And then just do the same for the other side. Again, I put my fingers into the bag. I match up the side seam with the bottom seam to create that little corner. Measure 2 inches up on each side, and then just draw the line across from dot to dot. And what I'm using is a washable fabric pen or fabric marker. You won't see this even though the bag's not going to be washed, because once I create that French seam on those corners, it's completely hidden. From here, turn the bag inside out again. Make sure that you're pressing out any of those corners. Again, I'm so sorry, I went off camera here. The next one you can see better. Just lay flat that seam that you just sewed and clipped off the corner, and then just do another 1/4 inch seam. And again, that creates another French seam on your corners. So here you can see that I put my hand inside, I pushed out all the little corners so that it's a flat edge, and then I sewed in a 1/4 inch seam to create the French seam. And once you trim off any stray threads, push out all your corners, give some shape to your bag, and you're done. And that's it.